Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar. The topic we are going to be discussing today is integrated asset risk profiling and CAPEX planning using SAP Analytics Cloud. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is a high-level agenda of what we're going to be covering today. We're going to start off with an introduction of our company VIZIO, after which we're going to jump right in and tell you a bit about what is integrated asset risk profiling and CAPEX planning, which will be followed by a demo of the accelerator that we've built for it. We'll then move on to some closing remarks, and if time permits, we're also going to do a quick Q&A if you have any questions. Next slide, please. Okay. Before we begin, I just wanted to share this disclaimer with everyone that the SAP Analytics Cloud platform is the sole registered property of the company SAP, and we at VIZIO are only using it as an implementation service for all the accelerators that we've built. So kicking off with an introduction of our company VIZIO. So welcome to VIZIO. We are a boutique AWS and SAP solution provider operating out of Canada and the US. We specialize in BI analytics and financial planning and analysis solutions. And we are currently offering end-to-end implementation and support services. All right, so this is where it gets interesting. This is a very high-level diagram of all of the technology offerings that we currently have at VIZIO. I'm going to invite my colleague Sajad, who is going to be talking about this a bit more. So Sajad, over to you.
Thank you, Asma, and welcome everyone. Just at high level, as we mentioned earlier, that we specialize in BI analytics and financial planning and budgeting solutions. So this slide kind of describes the different platforms that we offer. We offer a lot of those services on SAP platform as well as AWS platform, and within that, some of the on-premise offerings of SAP as well as the cloud offerings of SAP, in which different flavors of data warehousing, BI analytics are covered, along with the accelerator section. If on this side, where we are covering planning and budgeting solutions and some of the solutions specifically for SAP for utilities section. Okay, so going to the next slide. What is an accelerator? So let's start with that. It's very important to understand the concept behind that. The idea is to have one size fits all, whether you're a smaller municipality or a larger municipality. The solution will going to work for you because it is designed on best of the processes within the planning and budgeting for that particular category. Extremely short implementation cycles. That is one of the biggest advantage, which keeps the implementation cost low. Pre-built with FP&A processes based on best practices. Rapid deployment due to 80 to 90% processes pre-built in the solution. And some of the processes we will going to show you will going to give you that idea. All our solutions accelerators are demo ready to get a real-time FP&A automation experience, and not only that, allows you to do a data analysis based on what the solution is offering and how much there is a gap between your organizational processes. And this is built on SAP Analytics Cloud, which is a cloud offering of SAP. So there is no infrastructure involvement required. It's pretty much plug and play in terms of the software. Okay, so what, and this I like this slide, and this is specifically where it's getting interesting for municipalities and regional government, because we have a bit of experience of working with the regional governments and municipalities. Number one is it's a fully driver-based. Example, your inflation is not embedded within the transactions. You can have an inflation driver which can control and can be changed independent of a planning process. Just an example of one of the drivers comes with what if analysis, which allows you to do multiple scenarios. Maybe a last minute budget change can be implemented within minutes and reproduce a full implication without, before applying on the main budgeting data. Multi-year budgeting, especially let's say in case of OPEX planning, you can have anywhere from 1 year to the max of 10 years if you like to have a more strategic view of your expenditures. Full process tracking, so end-to-end plan process tracking, where and what stage the process is, and data level security, which is pretty much data driven, whether departmental level, project level, project manager level, all of that can be incorporated based on the requirements. Okay, so this slide just gives you a list of all the accelerators that we have built in SAP Analytics Cloud. Starting from the left, we have workforce planning, we have salary and benefits planning, we have OPEX planning, we have in-flight CAPEX planning. We have a separate application where we allow you to do new capital project planning. This also works like a business case. If there is a project or an asset acquisition that is required, you can use it as a business case development. Your existing asset management planning, profitability planning, and our latest offering is integrated risk profiling and CAPEX planning. We're going to talk about that in more detail to give you a little bit background before we jump into a demo so that you can relate how this application can fit within your organization and your processes. In addition to that, we also are using SAP Analytics Cloud as a business application. So one of the things that we have seen, and it is backed by popular demand, to have some kind of application to handle AROs, which is asset right obligations. The process covers end-to-end, starting from your cash flows, your future values, your net present values, accretion, depreciation, everything that is required by the guidelines is covered within that. And it's also one of our accelerators, and they can be deployed in an extremely short amount of time and a very cost-effective way. Our solutions are built in 3 languages, English, French, and soon they will be available in Spanish. Okay, so this covers a bit of an introduction, and we are going to move into the section 2 of the of the demo and the presentation, where we're going to show you what asset risk profiling CAPEX planning accelerator is. Okay, so within that application, we divide that into 2 different components. We divide it as asset risk profiling. This covers all your existing assets and any risk associated with that asset in terms of reaching its end of life or at some point if that asset needs to be replaced. And so it allows you to come up with that risk profiling and mitigation strategies, which can then get translated into CAPEX planning. On the other hand, CAPEX planning is a strategic planning in terms of how you're going to expand your organization and growth and any new development that is to be done down the road. So this is a very interesting slide, and I like to spend a bit of a time on this. So this is the entire application. Now, the 2 components that we talked about, the risk profiling, which is on the left side, and the CAPEX planning on the right side. The risk profiling has 4 different planning criteria on which we're going to allow you to gauge, measure, quantify your assets. The physical condition of the asset, the likelihood of the event if the asset breaks down or it creates an event, the consequences that are going to arise if the likelihood of that event has occurred, and what type of impact it generates. All of these 4 criteria creates a risk score which put that asset into a risk matrix, whether it is a high risk asset or a low risk asset, followed by a mitigation strategy or group of mitigation strategies that you can implement to mitigate that risk that is tagged with that asset, how much it will going to cost you to mitigate that risk, and if approved, can you translate that into a CAPEX project. And when it becomes a CAPEX project, this becomes part of your new planned CAPEX project portfolio, which will be to get integrated with your own in-flight projects to present you a unified CAPEX plan. The end-to-end from the left to right is your integrated risk profiling and CAPEX planning. With this, I'm going to switch into a live demo so that I can show you and walk you through the application and give you some of the key and cool features that the application has. Okay, so.
Thank you, Sajad, for that demo. If anybody would like to see more of our accelerators, or if you have any questions about what you've seen today, then please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to do a one-on-one session with you as well at your convenience. So before we close for the day, I just had a few things that I wanted to share with you. Next slide, please. So at VIZIO, we're currently working on a lot of new material that we're planning on sharing with our customers within the next quarter and early next year. So right now we're working on accelerators for revenue planning, travel and event planning, procurement planning, and strategic workforce planning. We've already got a few webinars scheduled for the rest of the year, so please keep an eye out on our social medias and our website to register for those if those are the things that you're interested in learning about. Next slide, please. Okay, so I can see that we have a few minutes on the clock. If anybody has any questions, then please feel free to drop them into the question box on the right side of your screen, and we'll be happy to address those. I've already collected a couple of questions, so I'll give you guys a minute if you want to add more over there, and if not, then I'll just go over the questions that I have collected so far. Okay, so Sajad, I have a few questions for you right now. I'll just go through those while if anybody else wants to drop their questions in, we can address those as well. So the first question I have is, how many years of planning can be done in this application?
Okay, this depends on the life of the project. The max ceiling that we have is 50 years. A project we usually have not seen at the municipality level and digital government projects that span over maybe maximum 10 years if they're building a power plant or something. But we can accommodate 50 years outbound years cash flow planning and project planning.
Okay, thank you for that. Another question I have is this application capable of adapting to the business processes and requirements from different industries?
We have designed this primarily with municipalities and regional government in mind, because and their processes. Yes, it can be adapted with slight modification because private sector CAPEX planning is slightly different than public sector CAPEX planning. Yes, but yes, it can.
Okay. Another question that we've gotten is, what benefits can be reaped by building this application on SAP Analytics Cloud?
Okay, if we recall the first couple of slides, the value proposition obviously is it's a quick deployment, no infrastructure cost, and having cloud platform as a service takes away that all the teething issues that comes along with on-prem systems. But the most importantly is the low implementation cost and rapid deployment is the biggest advantage. You don't have to wait years. We're talking about 16 to 20 weeks turnaround time here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, one last question that we can address before closing today's webinar is this. Assigning different ratings to asset classes and costs to mitigation strategies are subjective tasks with varying opinions. Who will be responsible for these activities?
Mostly the planners. These are there's a lot of subjective component because someone needs to be intimate with the assets or close to the assets to be able to judge that what is the physical condition of that asset and things like that, and accordingly assign that. Yes, there will be personal bias that can come into play, but other than that, I don't believe there is any other element involved.
Okay. Thank you for that, Sajad. So these are all the questions that I had for today. So I think everybody has a copy of this presentation. All of our emails and all of our contact information is over there. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you would like more clarity on something that you've seen today. We'll be more than happy to answer them. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are done for the day and we'll be closing this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.